Hi, I'm TJ with Spytec GPS, and today we're going to be doing a demo of the Spytec GPS platform's web application. Now, the web application is any instance of your software where you log in via the internet browser window. Now, when you log in via the internet browser, you are greeted with this main landing page, which is what we're going to focus on for the first maybe 5 or 6 minutes here. So the first element that I want to talk about on the main landing page is the main map. The key thing about the main map to know is it always displays your tracker's most recent known location. Even if it's on a trip, the location of the icon is the most recent reported position. So as you see our demo account, we've got devices all over the country. I'm just going to zoom in here on one in New York, and you can see the current location of this device. If I click on the device, it will show us a little information card showing us the approximate address and how long it's been there. Now, one thing I also want to take a look at and focus on is the difference when a tracker is moving versus when it's stopped and how the icon is visualized. So right here, we've got a couple of stopped trackers in Southern California, and they are the regular whole icon, and if I hover over them, it says stopped at the approximate address. Now, if a tracker is moving, it's got the speed that the device is moving, as well as a little arrow indicating directional heading. So if I hover over this icon, it says moving northeast at 21 miles per hour near that address. So you get that little bit of extra information from the icon itself, so you don't have to go digging through and try to find a status report. You simply see it right here on the icon. So this is a great way to get a top-down view of where your trackers are. You know, if you've got a bunch of delivery vehicles that all should be just north of Tampa, you can zoom in on the location and make sure all your icons are where they should be. Or if you're trying to make sure that your assets are safe, you should have a rough idea of where they need to be and make sure that they're in the right location. One important thing to note is that if the map will be adaptive, so if your devices are isolated in one area, say just in Southern California, the map's default view will be a little bit more zoomed in, something like this, rather than showing the entire country. Now, the second major element of the landing page that I want to talk about are our tracker icons here along the top. And this is designed to give you a ton of information at a glance as soon as you log in, especially if you're managing more than, say, 2 or 3 trackers. If you're up in that, 6, 5, somewhere around that range, it makes it a lot easier to visualize what's going on with your devices as a group rather than having to dig through each one individually. So if we take a look at these tracker icons, we've got a ring around the outside, which on this tracker is red, and if I hover over it, it says stopped. Click for details. Now the tracker next to it is green, and if I hover over that, it says moving. Click for details. That means I can easily and quickly look at all of my icons and determine which of these trackers is moving and which is stopped. If anything doesn't make sense, I contact the driver, I contact the site manager who's managing my assets, and make sure that everything is safe and sound. Now, if I see this blue dot above one of my trackers, that means that device is having one of 3 connection issues. It either has a power problem, meaning it's no longer connected to power, or the battery has been drained. It is not getting GPS signal. Maybe it's underground. It's not able to accurately communicate with the GPS satellites, or it doesn't have cellular signal. Again, it's usually in a building, maybe underground, and it's having trouble communicating with the Spytec servers. So those 3 things are represented by that blue dot. It lets you quickly diagnose an issue and let you know if you need to contact your CSM and get some tech support to get that device up and running. A great way to see that current status quickly about multiple trackers. But you can also click on the icon and you will be locked in on the device, as well as getting that advanced tracker card showing you the current location, the most recent status, and some really handy pre-filtered reports, which if we can click on this one here, we can go to view tracker positions, and we will look at yesterday. And this is going to take us to a pre-filtered report that shows us the data for this device from the last 24 hours. This is going to be every position report where it was, its status, as well as the time and date that that position was reported. Again, a super handy way to go from a top-level view to a really detailed view with 1 or 2 clicks. That's the entire point of these tracker icons. Now, below our tracker icons is where we've got our tracker activity cards. The tracker activity cards are representing all the trips and stops that your trackers have taken over a set amount of time. So a tracker is always in a status of on a trip, which is just a period of time when it's moving, or a stop, which is a period of time when it's not moving. Now, those statuses are always separate each other. So you'll never have two trips in a row. That would just be one big long trip. And you'll never have two stops in a row. That would just be one big long stop. So this allows you to visualize and see what a tracker has been doing over a period of time, broken up into smaller chunks. If we want to examine that, we can take a look at this trip right here. It shows us the mileage covered. It shows us the time and date. So this is when the trip started. This is when the trip ended. This is the date. This is our starting address, then our ending address. So we've got a lot of valuable information right here on this card that lets us visualize and think about what the tracker was doing from this time to this time. Well, it was moving 4 miles from here to here. Well, I want to see that on the map. All you have to do is click View in Map, and you'll be zoomed in to a visual representation of where that trip occurred. So we've got our green dot here at the bottom. That's our starting location. And then we moved up through each one of these blue dots. This is a position report. This is every time the tracker told the platform where it was, ending up at the red dot, which is actually under our tracker icon because that's currently where our tracker is. So this can be really handy, A, to just get a visual sense of the path that your trucks are taking, making sure they're taking efficient routes, making sure they're going where they need to be, but you can also dig into the details. You can click on one of these individual position reports and get a snapshot of what exactly was happening at that exact moment. So when this position report happened at 11:38 a.m., the tracker was moving at 32 miles per hour at approximately this address. This is great if you need to dig into the details, make sure your guys weren't speeding, see if they were speeding, whatever the case may be. This is all about that detailed, in-depth view, which you don't get from looking just at the tracker icons or looking at just the main map. So these three elements used together really give you that complete picture and the ability to then drill into the details and see what exactly is going on. So those are just a couple of handy tips and tricks about this main landing page. The next thing I want to talk about is a feature that I firmly believe everyone should be using on the Spytec GPS platform, and that is boundaries. So boundaries are digital fences that allow you to get a better indication of how your trackers are interacting with a spot on the map. They don't care about geography. They don't care about buildings. It doesn't matter. If a tracker enters or exits a spot on the map, you will get that notification. Now, what I'm going to do is zoom in here on my trackers in Southern California, and we're going to hit Create a New Boundary. So the boundaries are initially they're circular, and you can drag and drop them anywhere you want. You can also enter a street address if you need to. You can also resize them by selecting the white circle and moving them up and down as big as you want. And you can also create custom shaped boundaries by clicking right there. Then your first dot will start creating the boundary, and you can draw a custom shape in using as many dots as you need to. And then to close the boundary, you simply click back on the initial dot, and there we go. We've got our new custom shaped boundary. Now, this is, again, incredibly handy if you're using this for asset protection. Let's say you've got some valuable assets that spend a lot of time sitting at your warehouse and you want to keep them safe. Well, the best way to stay in the know is to put a boundary around that warehouse and enable boundary notifications. And that way, as soon as that device leaves the location, you're going to be notified either via push notification, web notification, text, or email, or all of the above. So it's just a really great way to stay in the know and get that valuable information about your devices. We also have a lot of people who utilize multiple boundaries. So maybe you've got an area that represents the safe zone where maybe the stuff should be. Then you've got an area that represents the danger zone, which is, hey, if it enters here, this is a problem. One thing I always recommend to our users as well is to give your boundaries custom recognizable names, because when you get a boundary notification, you will get the notification will refer to boundaries by the custom name. In the case of this boundary, it would say Can Factory. Tracker 7 has exited Can Factory. So it's, again, Utilizing the custom naming and custom information to get more information out of your alerts is a really valuable portion of this. So speaking of customization, the next thing I want to talk about are some of our preferences and some things that we can adjust about our platform on the web application. So our first tab here in preferences is just your account settings. These are going to be things like your billing address, the username and password, and basic billing information. That should all be set when you first activate your account. The next tab over is, I think, the most important tab maybe on the entire web application, and that's alerts and notifications. Now, the way that I like to explain alerts and notifications is alerts are the information that you want the platform to pay attention to. It's what you want Spytec software to notice for you. Notifications is how you want the software to tell you about that information. So I'm going to run through all of the alerts that are currently offered. So we've got a speeding alert, which is user configurable. We've got an SOS alert, which refers to specifically the GL300 series trackers. They have an SOS button on the front, and if someone presses the button, it will send a notification. Then we've got our low battery alert, which is exactly what it says on the tin. You set a percentage, and when that battery reaches that threshold, you'll get a notification. Helps you know when you need to charge so that way you're not caught off guard by a low battery. Then we've got boundary entry and exit, which we were just discussing, and that, again, is going to give you a notification when your trackers enter or exit that spot on the map. This is great, like I said, for asset protection, but can also be used for delivery or service. Let's say you're running a fleet of HVAC repair teams, and they've got job sites. If you put a boundary around the job site, you'll get a notification when your guys arrive, how long they were there, and when they exit. So that way you're sure that the job is getting done, appropriately timed, and in the time frame needed. Then below that, we've got ignition on off. Now this only applies to our OBD tracker, but it's another way of noticing activity. When the car is started or the vehicle is started, you'll get an immediate notification. And same goes when the car is turned off. Then we've got trip start and trip end, which is a unique notification because it's actually not about your devices, it's about your software. Trip start and trip end is letting you know that the software has started calculating a new trip and that it has finished calculating a new trip, and that trip information is available. It's not about an immediate, hey, your tracker is moving. It is much more about, hey, the platform has calculated this information and you can now view it. Then we've got trip exceeds distance and duration, which are two exciting notifications that use two different data points to let you know that something has happened. So it's your tracker has been on one continuous trip that has exceeded either a specific time frame or a distance monitor. This can be great if you're setting up sort of terms of hours of service. So if you've got your fleets that need to be operating within a 20-mile radius, you can set that trip exceeds distance to 21 miles. You'll get a notification if they're going outside the designated area. Now, we've got 4 different methods of notification for these alerts. Number 1 is mobile, which is a push notification from your mobile application. You don't have to have the mobile app open. You don't even have to be viewing the mobile app to get that notification. It will just hit when the alert happens. It's a super handy way to get valuable notifications to your mobile device without it becoming problematic and without it being intrusive, without you needing to have that app open. Then we've got web notifications, which happen right here in the web app window. For those, you do have to have the web application open and running. Then we've got raw text and email. These are interesting because they do not depend on the recipient having the Spytec GPS platform. You can actually add mobile numbers and email addresses that will receive these notifications independent of the actual software. So that's a quick look at the alerts and notifications. I highly recommend you work with your CS team, you work with our team here at Spytec to set these notifications up in a manner that makes the platform do the most work for you that it possibly can. That's an important thing to us, is making sure that the platform is doing a job for you. It's not just delivering information, it's helping you find out the information that matters to you. So next to the alerts and notifications tab, we've got the users tab. Now this is handy because this allows you to add different users to your platform that will have their own unique login information, so you don't have to share this account. Now, there are two different roles that you can have for users. The first is admin, and the admin role has the same rights and privileges as the account owner. So definitely be sure that you're sharing that with somebody who you can trust, who's not going to do anything nefarious with your software. Now, the second is the collab role, the collaborator role, and that is more of a view-only account. They can only do things that affect their view, so they're not able to change things that might matter to other users. And this is a role that will be fleshed out over time. This is a role that's really important to let you share this data with as many people as possible. Now, the next tab over is our trackers tab, and this allows you to customize your tracker's icon, shape, and color, as well as the name and the description about the tracker. The reason why this matters is the same reason why the naming of a boundary is important. When you get alerts and notifications about your trackers, it will refer to them by this name. So if you name your 10 trackers, tracker 1 through 10, that requires you to remember more about where you're using it than you need to. If you name it, service truck and the license plate number, when you get that notification, you know exactly which truck it's referring to, and allows you to make quicker, more decisive decisions when you need, maintenance on a vehicle, or when you need to dispatch somebody to a new location. You can quickly recognize who's where. Also, the same thing goes for the tracker shape and color. It seems kind of fun and gimmicky, but really, when you're looking at that main map and using it to get that high-level information, it's really great to associate a tracker with a specific shape and color. It lets you quickly know which one you're looking at and understand what's going on the map very, very easily. Also, you can see the tracker's unique IMEI number on this page as well, which is very handy if you need to do any maintenance with your devices, if you need to discuss anything with support. Now, the last page I want to take a look at are the settings page. So 3 of these are very simple. You simply set your time zone, what your distance units is, what your speed units are preferred. Speed units, miles per hour, kilometers per hour. Distance units are feet, kilometers, meters, miles, or yards. The most interesting thing on this page is the map style. So we've got 4 different map modes. We've got light, dark, satellite, and mono. I just want to show satellite really quick because I think that is a really popular map mode. And what it allows you to do is get static satellite imagery, so we can zoom in on where our devices are and see a representation of that real world map view. What might be in the area? What are we looking at? And as we get closer in, of course, we're going to get that more 3D almost visualization of what a tracker location looks like. And it really helps you understand what's going on around your devices a little bit better than maybe, say, the light or monochromatic or dark map modes do. Me personally, I do like the light and monochromatic mode, but that's just because I like to visually see the contrast that happens with those. So those map modes allow you to really dive in and see different information. Now, the last thing that I want to take a look at on the web application are the reporting tools. So if I go to reports up here at the top, you can see we've got 4 pre-configured reports. We've got the alerts report, which we're going to dive into here. And what this is going to show us is all of those alerts, the ones that we looked at in the preferences, that have been triggered by our trackers. So we've got the name of the tracker, the type of the alert, the details. So if it's a trip, it'll show you the distance and time, the date and time of the alert, as well as a clickable location. So if we click on that, it shows us where the alert happened. Super handy if you're doing something, say, monitoring for speeding of your drivers. You can go in here and filter and only show speeding, and I want to see all the speeding for the past week. I can hit apply. Now I've got a lot of teachable information that I can take to my team and say, hey guys, we've got to watch our speed when we're on the New Jersey Turnpike. We've gotten 4 tickets this year, and that's going to raise our insurance costs, and that can be problematic. So that's a really handy, quick way to use reporting. All of our reports can also be exported by simply clicking that button right there. It'll export as a CSV file so you can share that information as needed. Now, heading back to our reports page, we've also got the boundary activity report, which is going to show us anytime a device has entered or exited a boundary. Now, if it has not exited a boundary, if it shows no exit date, time, or exit location, that means the tracker is still currently in that boundary. So that's, again, just a handy way to see what's going on with your devices. We've got tracker activities, which is going to show all the completed trips and stops for our devices. As we can see here, it shows the distance covered if it's a trip, and it shows the duration of trips and stops. And the last report is the tracker positions report, which is a much larger report because it is raw information. It's showing you raw data. Every position report shows the date, time, GPS date and time, which GPS date and time is the time that the actual report was generated versus the time that it hit the platform. And these should always be roughly the same. Then we've got the longitude and latitude, the clickable address, the current speed, and the total odometer listed there. So reporting is all about finding that broad information, sharing it as you need to, and digging into the details when necessary. Okay, guys, that was a quick look, a demo of the Spytec GPS web application. For more details, do not hesitate to reach out and contact us at spytec.com. We'd be happy to help you get more out of this web application in any way that we can. Thank you so much.